Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, back to work on the metal planer, and this feels good because this is going to be one of the final videos, I think, on the actual planer restoration. We are really down into the short rows to get this thing finished up. We've already used the machine, we've already tested it out, and I've still got some learning about this machine and using it to get used to it, but we've got it running. The only last thing I've got is I need to make a little adapter to go up here on this top shaft where I can come in with a crank and crank this and be able to raise up this crosshead and the cutter and all that to get the proper clearance under the machine. So when I made this top shaft up here, I didn't really put a square on the end of it to be able to do that. The original didn't have one, and I was copying it, but it's going to be a lot easier to be able to just crank this thing up right here. So we're making a modification to it, and it's pretty straightforward. I've got a piece of 1-inch steel here. This shaft diameter is 1 inch here. It's already keyed. It's already sticking out a little bit. My plan here is that we'll make a little extension that will also be keyed, put a square on it where this handle can go up on there to crank, and then we'll make a little bushing to go over it that will connect the two pieces together, and that should give us what we need to do. So, and when that is done, this machine is done. It's been a 2-year project, a little over 2 years, and it really feels good to have this. I need to get on to some newer projects, and I got plenty of those lined up, so really excited to be able to kind of check the last thing off of this. I do still have some oil cups that are going to go on the ends of this down here, and those are at the foundry right now, waiting to get done. There's some work that has to be done to make some cores and stuff on that, but you know, we can use it without that. So yeah, there will be a follow-up at some point in the future when we get there, but other than that, we're pretty much done with this machine once this is done. So without further ado, let's get in here and get started on it. Over at the lathe, we're going to start by just facing this front side, get that saw marks out of it. That looks good. And I also want to pretty heavily chamfer this leading edge. That's probably good right there. All right, over to the mill. We're going to put a square on it. So up next is to mill the square in there over on the milling machine, and to do that I'm going to use this little set here. This is just a 5C collet block. These sets, they come with a square and a hex, and it's for exactly this, milling either a square or a hexagon shape over on your milling machine. So I've got a 5C collet. This is a 1-inch collet. That's pretty much the largest size they go. And what you do here is you put this collet into the collet block. There's a key that there's a slot right there that have to line up. There we go. And we'll slide our material up through there, leave it sticking out enough, and we'll just tighten this collet up. Now the kit comes with one of these that you can use a spanner wrench for. This is a one that I've made on the lathe, just knurled it, and I have it where I can put a wrench on it. I prefer this over the one with the spanner wrench. And basically all this does is screw on the back of the collet, and that will draw it tight. And that collet, if you noticed up on the front, was tapered, so when you tighten this up in the back and pull it in, it's going to squeeze it shut and make a really nice tight holding there. So I'm going to put this over in my vise, get my wrench out, tighten that up good, and we'll be ready to go to the milling machine. So I got my block set up over here in my vise now. I got my milling head on here we're going to use to cut this with, and you can see how this works. We basically just are holding it in this square block, and what I can do is just take the block out, rotate it 90 degrees at a time, and just keep making that same cut across it until you get the thickness you want. And speaking of that, this shaft is currently 1 inch in diameter, and we are going for a 5/8 inch square shank on there. So 5/8 inch is 625 thou. So I've done the math, and basically what we want to do is figure out 1 inch minus 625. That's going to be 0.375. There's your math if you want to see it. So 0.375, that's 3/8 of an inch. Get that in the frame. So 3/8 of an inch, and then that's the total we need to take. We need to take half off the top and half off the bottom, so you divide that in half. That's 3/16 or 0.1875. So what we should be able to do is touch off here and drop it down 0.1875, and that should give us what we need. So 3/16 is probably a little bit more than I want to take in one pass. The mill would handle it, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, touch off, drop down to 100 thousandths, and do all 4 sides. I will then measure it, make sure, confirm my numbers are like I expect, and then we'll take that last 875 thousandths in a second pass and second operation. So let's get in here and get her done. Head going there. I shouldn't be touching right here, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to raise the table up until I just touch the very top there, right there. And I'm going to zero my digital readout on my Z-axis, and I'm going to come up 100 thousandths. We'll cut across that. Okay, I'm going to stop my cutter head. We will remove this from the vise, and I'm just going to rotate it 90 degrees right there. Now I just did this where the front of that is flush with the edge of the vise. If I was really good, I would have put a stop on there where it would have been exactly in the same place, but I'm just feeling it with my hand. It'll be close enough. That's flush. All right. Cut 2. Flip it again. Fourth one. Now we're going to come in here and get a good measurement on this, make sure it's where we want it to be. And we are reading right at 800 thousandths, which should be right on the money where we're shooting for. Because we took 100 thousandths off of each side. 1 inch minus 100 thousandths on each side would be 800 thousandths. So we need to go ahead and dial in that extra, what was it, 875, or not 800, yeah, 87.5 thousandths. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm just going to dial that in. We'll go 85 5, 7.5 right there. Okay, let's go around the corners again, all 4 sides, and we should be where we need to be. Okay, let's take her out, inspect it, and make sure everything's like it is, and we'll be ready to go. All right, so I took it out, all my measurements check out. I checked it with my tool that I'm going to use to crank it with, and everything looks good. I do want to just clean this up a little bit. I'm going to re-chamfer the leading edge of this a little bit, and also come in here and chamfer this shoulder back here, just so that it blends in a little bit nicer. So let's fire up our lathe. And it's going to kind of come in a little bit. And that looks like it's pretty well blended in. And same thing back here. There we go. And that looks a lot better. So I'll go hit that on the Scotch-Brite wheel and just deburr everything, but I think it looks good. Over at the marble saw now, we're just going to cut this thing off. I got a mark on there, and we'll just zip it right off where it needs to be, take over the lathe, and face that side. Last step here, we need to put a 1/4-inch keyway in this to key it over on there. So I'm just going to put this in my vise. I just got a parallel that we're going to drop in here. We'll drop this piece in, and I'm not going to worry about getting that perfectly flat. It really doesn't matter. Main thing is that the piece is sitting down flat on that block back there. Now with that in there, we're going to use a edge finder. We'll find the center of this shaft. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here. I'll find the edge on the back side of that jaw. I'll find the edge. I'll zero my DRO. I'll find the edge on the front side of the jaw. And then whatever that measurement is, half of it will line me up in the center of this. So it's just some simple math, and we can do it all in the DRO. So we'll just use the half function. Once we find that distance, dial it into 0, and we should be dead nuts on center. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. There we go. I'm going to bring that over till it jumps out to the side. Right there, and that tells me I'm on the edge. I'll zero my digital readout, and I usually just verify that once I do it, and we're right on the money. So we'll come to the other side now, do the same thing, and right there is my distance. I'll show you on the digital readout now. So there's what we measured, 2 thousandths over 1/2 inch. And that makes sense because my wiggler or my edge finder's a 1/2 inch, 1 inch piece. So we got 2 thousandths in there that's somewhere may be error, it may be real. It doesn't really matter. 2,000ths isn't going to matter here. So what we're going to do is just use the half function though. So I'll hit this one down here. I've used it so many times you can't see it very well, covered in grease, but I'll hit the half function. It'll tell me to select which axis. I'll select the y-axis, and notice that number changed to 251. And I'm just going to dial that into 0. Right there, and we'll lock the table down, and that should be right down the center of that shaft. All right, so I have switch tools now. I've put in a 1/4 inch end mill. We need a 1/4 inch keyway in there, and it needs to be half of the depth of the width. So half of a 1/4 inch is 1/8 of an inch, which is 125 thou. So we will touch off, raise the table up 125, and we're going to cut that all the way through. Let's do it. Again, we'll just bring up until I get a little chip on there. Right there. And we'll come out to the end, and I will zero my digital readout again. And I think I'll do this, I'll do 75 thou and then come back and take the rest. So I'm just going to dial in 75 thou. Right there. We'll go down. What the world? All right, guys, I don't know why that broke. That was a brand spanking new carbide end mill, never been used before. Started out cutting beautifully. As it got through that cut, it acted like it was getting dull, getting hot. I mean, I wasn't running it too fast. In fact, if anything, I may have been running a little bit on the slow side. And I didn't think my feed rate was too bad. So we're going to try it again. I got a high-speed steel end mill this time. I basically just put it back down to that same depth we were just cutting. Go slow right here. There we go. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but we'll raise that on up to the 125 now. And come back through there. All right. High-speed steel, an old wore-out high-speed steel bit, just beat a carbide bit. Go figure. Let me deburr that. We got some pretty nasty stuff up on the top from where that carbide one was not doing right. All right, so I got a piece of keyway here, key stock. We'll put that in there. That looks like it's seating down pretty good. This is a coupler that I bought that already is everything to size. So we got the keyway and it's already 1 inch. It's probably going to take a little bumping to get it in there. There we go. A little bit too far. All right, let's see if I can bump that out kind of flush with the front there. That looks good. Now, let's There we go. And I'm going to tighten these set screws up. Already got this one snug, but we'll tighten it on up the rest of the way. We'll start by loosening the clamps on here. There's some locking clamps on either side so that once you get it set, you can leave it. So let me loosen up the other side as well. And with that, we should be able to, that's going down. And that's going up, just like it's supposed to work. Perfect. So this will allow me to have larger items clear up underneath the crosshead. This is something that is not really moved while the machine is running. If you need to plane up and down, you use here. Pull that gear out where that'll go. So you can move your cutter up and down there, and you got pretty good range, but this gives you the clearance for whatever work you're working on up underneath, and that seems to be doing the job. So with that, I'm declaring it. This machine is done. Yeah, we got a few little things that we'll probably still have to come in here and take care of, but in the grand scheme of things, it is done. Whoa! All right, well, there you go. I think that not only is this a wrap on this episode, this is a wrap on the series. Like I said, I think we're pretty much done with this. Yes, like I mentioned before, I've got to put the oil cups on here. Very minor, does not interfere with the running of the machine. It's just really from keeping a mess up off the floor. Hopefully we'll get those on here before too long. I was able to find some original ones. My friend Andrew Alexander out in Texas has this same planer, and he let me borrow one, and that is at Clark's. He's going to try to use the original cups as the pattern, but he has to make a little core piece to make it all work out. It's going to take a little time for him to get that done, but again, no big deal. Whenever we do get done with that, we'll do a video putting those on, of course. But in the meantime, that doesn't prevent us from using the machine. I'm sure there's going to be some other fine-tuning and adjustments that we have to do to this machine as we use it and really learn it and get to know it and get comfortable doing jobs on it. But again, we're done with the restoration. The restoration phase is over, and I am really tickled to get this done. This project, for you that have been watching the whole time and been watching the whole series, yes, it has gone on for quite a while, a little over 2 years, 2 years and 3 months roughly, give or take a month or two. It's been a long haul, and it's been a lot of fun. I hope you guys have really enjoyed it. This machine, quite honestly, it probably deserved to go into the scrapyard. And under most people's eyes, I looked at it and said, you know what? That's a challenge, and I want to take it on. This machine probably has virtually zero value to a modern machine shop. That wasn't what it was about. To me, it was about preserving the history, saving a machine from the scrapyard, and giving it a new lease on life. And from an economical standpoint, I probably can't justify the amount of time and money that I put into this machine for what I can get out of it. But for a personal satisfaction standpoint, from the standpoint of preserving history and having something now that we can use to show younger generations, probably for generations to come, on how things used to be done, to me, it doesn't have a dollar value. It's priceless, but no one's going to pay me the money to do this job. But fortunately, that's what I enjoy doing, or maybe unfortunately, I'm not sure. But anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this series. We're going to move on to some new projects now. And so, the Jimmy DiResta bandsaw is probably the next thing I'm going to focus on. It's got a lot of work to do to it, but I think we can knock it out fairly quickly. When I say fairly quickly, we're still talking months, just because of the amount of time that I can come out here and spend on it. If this was a full-time shop and I was working, 40, 50, 60 hours a week in here, it wouldn't take that long. But, I'm pretty much a weekend warrior when it comes to working in the shop. This is kind of this is more of a hobby for me than what I do for a living. So yeah, it's going to take a little bit of time, but in the grand scheme of things, that should be fairly simple restoration. The Monarch 28-inch lathe, we've got it well underway, and I really need to get focused back on that and knock it out. That's probably the next machine of myself we're going to work on. And yes, people have been asking about the Stoker engine. The Stoker engine, quite honestly, has been kicking my butt here lately. I've been having some difficulties trying to get that part machine down in the bottom. I think we've got a plan on I think we're up to plan E or F now. I can't remember what it is, but hopefully we're going to try something else on that real soon. Once I can get those bottom pieces machined in, we can really kind of get back to going, but I've got to get that done. And honestly, it's kicking my butt right now. That's just all there is to it. But we need to get that back onto the front burner so that we can get it knocked out for the Nashville Steam Group up there. They're not needing it yet. We got time, but I need to get it done before it becomes an emergency. And then the 10EE lathe, we dropped the bed off up in Milwaukee to get ground. I told them when I dropped it off, people have been asking me, hey, have you got that back yet? I told them I'm in no hurry whatsoever to just work it in when they have time to get it on there and work it in. So if it's next year when I pick that bed up, I don't think I'm going to be needing it before then, because I got plenty of other things to work on. So yeah, we'll get it done, but it's kind of a back burner project right now. So anyway, there you go. That's where we're at. Quick update there, and glad to have the metal planer finished. Guys, that will be a wrap. So again, thanks for watching so much. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hopefully you're already clicked on that subscribe button. If you haven't, please do click on it. It helps me out a bunch. Please click that like button. That also helps me out a bunch with the Google Analytics and getting where they'll recommend this video for other people to watch. So that's real important. And leave comments if you like. And there you go. Appreciate everything you guys do. Hit that bell icon to get notifications. Support me on Patreon, whatever you guys want to do. Kick in there and help out. We always appreciate it. So we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching.